Our theme tonight is caring. Why caring? Because I believe today is National Caring Day. So we should all be caring for somebody or something. So make sure that we keep that in mind, that we're caring. Now, I'm not going to be able to do everything by myself. And consequently, I'd just like to mention that we do have some people who are going to be helping us. Our timer tonight is going to be Marianne. So Marianne, you want to explain your duties as timer?
Yes, sir. Most of you know on table topics, I will be showing the green light at 1 minute, yellow light at 1.5 minutes, and red light at 2 minutes. You'll have 30 seconds grace for your speeches. If you're going 5 to 7, 5 minutes will be the green light, 6 minutes the yellow, and 7 minutes the red. And again, you have 30 seconds grace. Some of the speeches I think are 3 to 5. So it'll be same thing, 3, 4, and 5, and 30 seconds grace. For the evaluated, at 2 minutes the green, 2.5 the yellow, and 3 minutes red, and again 30 seconds grace. And as general evaluated, 3 minutes green, 4 minutes yellow, 5 minutes red, and again 30 seconds grace. And after each segment, I will give you the report. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I guess I'd shake her hand. I've been married to her for many years. Our next person that's going to be coming up is Karen. She's going to be giving us her duties as the counter. So, Karen. Thank you.
Okay, I will be the counter for this evening. The purpose of the counter is to note words and sounds used as a crutch or pause filler by anyone who speaks during the meeting. Words such as and, well, but, so you know. Sounds may be and pauses. When the speaker repeats a word or phrase such as I, or this means. When called upon, I will give my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Our grammarian was supposed to be Wendy, but she is not here tonight. I don't see her in here yet. And I just like to ask, does somebody want to act as a grammarian? Okay, we have no volunteers for that, but I just would like you to try to use the word compassion in your presentations tonight, whether it's a speech, table topics, or in the evaluation. We all have to show compassion. Now, our gesture, it was originally going to be one person, but I had to change that today. And so I think I just took it over as a gesture myself. Now, I'm trying to those vegans complaining about my diet. It reminds me of the spinach inquisition. Okay. I tried to write a book on plants. It didn't work. I guess I should have used paper. Should have used paper instead of writing on plants. Okay.
We have to explain it.
It's too late. Yeah, I know. A drunk phoned the police to report thieves had broken into his car. They stole his dashboard, his steering wheel, his brake pedal, even his accelerator. So literally just a few minutes later, the police, the phone rang again. The same voice came over. Never mind. I got into the back seat by mistake. Okay. She caught that one. Oh, well. With that, I'll just mention that I'm going to be the vote counter this evening. And for everybody who is online, I just want to let you know the people that we have in the house tonight are Marianne, Benjamin, Jeremiah, Musa, Dan, Bob, Aaron, Annie, Bond, and Becky. I hope that you have that all memorized, because I don't think I can repeat it again. And online we do have Pierre, Danica, and Arlene. Now, we do have 7 people scheduled to speak tonight. However, 2 of them are not here. So we still will have 5 presentations this evening. And to start us off on the speeches, our first speaker is going to be Danica. He's going to be doing his fourth speech from in the Speechcraft program. So let's welcome Danica, and his time is 3 to 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I do not have your title. So, Danica.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, everyone. Have you ever wondered why some people are so good at fulfilling their dreams and living a life of purpose? What is their secret source for success? Today, I would like to talk about an essential aspect of our personal and professional goals, that is goal setting. Goals are the compass that guides us towards success and fulfillment. They provide us a sense of direction, purpose, and motivation to achieve our dreams, whether it's in our career, relationship, health, or personal development. Setting goals is crucial for unlocking our true potential. Each one of us has dreams and aspirations, but without a clear path and well-defined goals, they may remain nothing more than just wishes. When it comes to goal setting is the process for identifying what we want to accomplish and creating a roadmap to reach those desired outcomes. Some people would say that all you need to do is work hard to achieve what you want in life. Some people think it's about who you are and what you have. Yet others feel that there are some people born with access and that they are given all the breaks in life. The truth is, those who create goals and have a regular and constant goal setting process are much more likely to achieve their life dreams. Setting goals is not merely wishful thinking. It's a powerful tool for turning our dreams into reality. Without clear goals, we are just like a ship without a rudder, drifting aimlessly through our life. Goals provide us with the focus and clarity. They allow us to prioritize our efforts, make better decisions, and utilize our time and resources effectively. Goals give us a sense of purpose, a reason to wake up early morning with passion and determination. However, setting goals is not a one-time event. It should be an ongoing process that requires reflection, adjustment, evaluation. As we progress towards our goals, we must regularly assess our performance, celebrate our achievements, and learn from our failures. Most importantly, we should be able to learn from our failures. You need to add commitments and determination to your goals, and so you will find that you are willing to take continuous and consistent action towards making your dreams a reality. Despite any obstacles in your path, including difficult times, most during the pandemic, some people make that as an opportunity to come up with new ideas and new concepts. Someone I can give you an example of someone I know, because he was doing tuition classes, but he came up with the platform to provide the tuitions online, and now he's serving more than 30 students online, and he's one of the leading tuition provider in Sri Lanka. So he came up with a new idea during this pandemic, and because he just did not wait during the pandemic, just like doing nothing and worrying about the situation. And to conclude what I've been telling, so goal setting is an indispensable skill for anyone of us to aspire and achieve our dreams and leading a fulfilling life. And it empowers us to define our ambition, work towards with our dedication, and celebrate our accomplishment. So let our goals be the guiding light that propels us towards a future filled with success, joy, and self-actualization. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danica. I appreciate that. And our next speaker is going to be Bob Mendez. Bob has been a wealth management advisor for over 34 years. In 2009, he established the firm RLM Wealth Group, which he and his wife Karen manage today. They are both longtime residents of Riverside, and today he is going to tell us about a U.S. government agency which is intentionally creating more unemployment. Let's welcome Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I'd like to tell you about a government agency that is intentionally creating more unemployment. Now, as radical as that statement sounds, it's true. The name of this federal agency is the Federal Reserve. Now, before I tell you why the Federal Reserve is trying to create more unemployment, I'd like to give you a little bit of history behind the Federal Reserve. In 1913, the Federal Reserve was created under President Woodrow Wilson. The reason why the Federal Reserve was created was to help stabilize the banking system. The government was going through a series of banking crises at this time, and they needed a way to help stabilize the banks. The Fed acts as a central bank for the US government. The Fed has also been given two mandates by Congress. One is maximum employment. The second one is price stability. The first one I mentioned, maximum employment, sounds like it contradicts my opening statement. However, the second one, price stability, actually reaffirms my argument. Let me explain. So price stability is also known as inflation. Inflation is simply the cost of goods and services. Inflation right now in the US is running about 4.9%. A year ago, inflation was at 8.2%. So inflation is trending down right now. The Fed's goal is to reach an unemployment, excuse me, an inflation rate of 2%. That is their main objective. And now, how is the Fed able to lower inflation? They're able to do that by raising interest rates, or more specifically, they raise the Fed funds rate. Today, the Fed funds rate is at 5 to 5.25%. But back in March of 2022, the Fed funds rate was at 0 to 0.25%. So you can see interest rates have gone up dramatically during that period of time. And when the Fed raises interest rates, especially when they raise them quite dramatically, it causes the economy to slow down. And when the economy slows down, businesses slow down. And when businesses slow down, they have a tendency to lay off their employees. Now, when people are laid off, you can't afford to go out and buy the things you normally would buy, maybe go to dinner, maybe go see a movie. So this causes the demands for goods and services to go down. And as the demand for goods and services go down, that causes prices to go down. And this is where the objective of the Fed is at. They are trying to drive down the prices of goods and services for inflation at basically any cost. Unfortunately, those costs are higher unemployment. Now, I'm not here to vilify the Fed. Actually, in my 34 years as a financial advisor, I think they've done a pretty good job. If they didn't raise interest rates when they needed to, we would be paying probably $20, $30 for simply a loaf of bread. It's by raising those rates when it's needed that helps to keep our prices in check. It's the unfortunate consequences of higher employment that do come along with it. The Fed, you can see, has a very thankless job. Now, the next time the Fed is going to meet and make a decision on interest rates is June 14th. At that time, it's expected that they're either going to keep interest rates the same or possibly raise them another 0.25%. But either way, the Fed has stated that they're going to keep interest rates higher for longer. So what is that going to mean? It's going to mean, unfortunately, higher unemployment. In 2022, there were over 15 million people who were laid off. Now, with interest rates remaining higher for longer, we can expect that number to be even greater in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Personally, when I bought my house, I would have thought that a 6% interest rate was great, because it was 13% back in 1984. And consequently, it's dropped down significantly. Now But we've had a lot of different things happen over the last almost 40 years. You guys have lived in that place for 40 years. Well, our next presenter is Jeremiah Moore, and he is going to give us an educational feature on powerful words. So let's welcome Jeremiah.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. For our speeches, we use words as a tool to get a point across. So one thing that we actually have that in the absence of hand gestures and stage presence, we can use to make a speech more exciting, to invoke certain feelings, to paint a certain picture. Word choice can make a speech interesting for a listener, but gain the same information across. Some thought goes into how we choose to use language. If you're giving an informative speech or instructional speech, you will use literal language. You need to be precise and clear. While literal language may not be as fun as some of the other types of words we use, it's important. As Bob just gave us an example in his speech, that numbers and statistics are important. If you're giving a humorous or inspirational speech or an entertaining speech, you can use more figurative speech. You can use innuendo or analogies or metaphors. Here you can really use the words to transport your listeners to a different place. For example, if you tell a story about a kid walking home from school in the rain, it might go something like, I was walking home wet and cold in the rain. While we know exactly what the kid is doing, it doesn't really paint that picture. Maybe a more expressive way to say it was, I was trudging home through the wind-driven rain, soaked to the core and chilled to the bone. It paints a much better picture of what it was. You still ended up in the same place, but now you have a better idea. And this is more engaging for the listener. Now you need to consider speech structure. There's active language, which follows the most direct way to communicate. And then there's passive language that removes the subjects from the action. A simple example would be an active speech would be, John kicked the ball. Well, we know John kicked the ball. It's a direct, it's precise. A more passive way would be to say, the ball was kicked by John. So you remove the subject from the actual action, and the action comes first, then the subject comes later. Now, choice of words can have a great impact. You don't have to use multisyllabic words to make an impression. Words like love, fear, joy can have an impact. You can set the tone of speech by using descriptive words. Using slang words can indicate that a speech is casual. You can use catchphrases or slogans and repeat it throughout the speech to emphasize a point or an idea. For anyone that heard my last speech, I used the title of the speech multiple times to make the listener know exactly who the speech was about. This was a tool that I used to really drive that point home. Then, how do we know if a word is powerful or not? Some of the ways to know is it a unique word? Now, you want to use something unique, maybe not often heard, but don't be so obscure that you lose the listener in the minutia of what you're actually trying to get across. There's descriptive words. It does help to paint a picture. Sometimes I like to do it when I'm trying to get a certain point across and really drive a point home. And there's action-driven words that will tell you exactly what the subject is doing. And then there's surprising words. They can be interjections to express surprise. Something like, yikes, my tire blew out in my car. That's something that will get the listener interested as well. And then other words. Does it inspire curiosity? If you're telling a story about coming across some confidential papers, it piques the listener's interest. what are those papers about? That word confidential is a powerful word used in the right context. It's not only the words you choose, but placement and timing. In my last speech, I gave a brief pause and then ended it with one word. I was specific not to say that word throughout the speech, to put an exclamation point on what I was trying to get across. So what are powerful words? Darlene Pierce, author of Well Said, a book about public speaking, notes, whether it's inspiring a nation, launching a product, building a team, or mending a relationship, the right words spoken at the right time can change history.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, words are powerful. And if we use them properly, we can get action. If we don't use them properly, oh well. Just same old, same old. Now we're going to go into our impromptu speaking portion of the meeting. And that will be conducted by our club president. She has been around in Toastmasters for well over 4 decades, and she has participated in thousands of table talking presentations. So let's see what she has, if she's going to give us anything regarding carrying. Welcome, Becky.
All right. Gotta get moving. Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you. Well, you can't have compassion and not care, right? Caring is intrinsic to our nature. I'm going to talk about different items that we might care about. So it's up to you to show the compassion for it. I recently put in some little succulent plants in a garden area that I had in my backyard. And I'm really beginning to care for them. I managed to water them. I'm not killing them yet. So I'm happy about that. Taryn, tell us about a plant or a garden that you particularly cared about.
Oh. Well, that's great. You chose me just for the fact that I have no green thumb at all. I don't take care of plants that well. We have a plant at work and I tried watering it. I didn't really care for it too much because I forgot about it, so to speak. When we came over the weekend, when we came back to work, it was dead. Tried to revive it by watering it a little bit more, taking off some of the other flowers and keeping one of the flowers on. My husband took over watering it because I kept forgetting about it. I'm not that great at growing flowers or plants. I think just because it's in my nature that I just don't tend to them. I tend to other things and I forget about them very easily, not on purpose. I wouldn't do that on purpose to anything. I wouldn't kill anything on purpose. Well, especially a plant, I just wouldn't do that. So to answer your question, I'm not very well at taking care of plants and I try to revive them. It doesn't always work.
I'm that same way. Don't feel bad.
I have compassion for plants. I just don't tend to them very well.
I love looking at a well-tended garden. I think it's beautiful, but I have a problem with plants too. If somebody wants to give me a plant, I tell them to make it non-living. That way I don't have to worry about it. Well, we know this person has great compassion and caring for animals. So let's have Mary Ann tell us how she got that caring for animals. Where did that come from?
Thank you, Madam Tabletop Master, Masters. I have compassion for all kinds of animals, including bugs. Because if I find a bug in my kitchen or on the floor, I catch it in a cup and I throw it out the door just so it can live. But I was brought up to respect everything in this world. My mother said, everything on this earth has been put on for a reason. And as I said in my speech last week, I've had quite a few pets in my life, and I've loved every one of them. I usually like to find ones that are strays or find them on the road, because that means that somebody had lost them and didn't care for them. Both my sons have done the same. They've found dogs in the woods and they've taken them home and loved them. I think everyone should have a pet, a cat or a dog. It doesn't matter what it is, because it's like having a child in your home. I don't know, just all animals in this world has a reason, and they're just all beautiful. So it's my way of thinking, have a pet, because it helps you feel better to yourself and taking care of them. And just have compassion for all creatures on this earth. With that business. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. And she has a new object to care for. The peahen laid an egg. Our next table topics person is Damika. Damika. I'm trying to phrase the sentence for this. How can we show more compassion and more caring for the environment? What do you think needs to be done to help care for it?
Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, to take care of the environment we live, I think the most important thing is putting garbages. That's the main thing ruin the environment. So to take care of the environment, so we have a practice of putting the garbage properly, dispose it properly, and in proper way. In most of the countries, it's established by law. So they have put on even fines when you are throwing off garbages everywhere. So actually, it should come from our heart that we should be protecting this environment. So we should have in mind that when we are disposing garbages or anything throwing out to the environment, that should destroy the environment. So we should be putting it in the right places. Even in our home also, we should have that practice. So with that, I think we can take care of the environment we live. So that we will get the fresh air, we will be able to freshly live in this environment. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
When I was 9 years old, my mother was in a horrible accident, and I wound up caring for her, mainly because I was the only girl. But it did teach me a lot of compassion. Arlene, tell us about a time that you cared for a friend or a relative, and what did you learn from it?
Back in 2008, I took care of my mom after she had major back surgery. I was in high school and I had never really taken care of anyone else before, at least in this capacity. I'd never really helped anyone shower. I'd never thought I would help my mom shave her legs. It was something that kind of opened my eyes to that experience, especially as being a caregiver, and what that would mean as to be a mom one day. And it was a lot more work than I had expected or anticipated. But looking back, I think it was well worth it. I think my mom was really grateful that I was there to help her during this time. I also learned how to cook meals for her and helped her sit up when it was time to eat. I think that I got to learn a lot of real world experiences and lessons. Thank you.
I'm not a hiker. I never pretend to be. I can appreciate those that do go hiking. Benjamin is one of them. He likes to get outdoors. So Benjamin, tell us how we can improve or care more for the hiking trails that we have around here.
This is semester. Little plastic bottle. Doesn't carry much water, fits in your pocket, goes everywhere with us all the time. Unfortunately, I also see these bottles all over the trails, up and down mountains, everywhere, getting into the gutters, clogging drains. I don't know why people feel compelled to just discard these bottles, but they do, wherever they want. They fall on the side of the trails. I don't like it. I don't know many people that do actually like to see litter. I'm sure they're out there. I've just never met them. What we can do to take care of the trails is start with ourselves. Mainly, don't throw your bottles away. Use something that's probably not even plastic, to be honest. There's so many nice insulated, vacuum insulated bottles available that we can keep our beverages cool. Every trail seems to have water fountains available. We don't really need to use disposable bottles, but we can recycle these. Every single time you can refill your single bottle. So again, discarding them on the trail doesn't make a lot of sense. If you come back, you could just use it again. I know they're cheap, but the idea of walking into a place to embrace nature, to see flowers and animals and breathe fresh air, and then have to see litter on the same trail is maddening to me. Why do people go to these places and then discard their trash? Basically, we can take care of our trails by just minding our own business, cleaning up our litter, and packing out a little bit more than you actually pack in. I think you missed this.
Good. And our last table topics is for Annie. Annie, tell us about a job that you really cared for.
Okay.
Oftentimes we don't care for our job. So tell us about one you had compassion for.
Well, I was a school teacher for 26 years. I worked with elementary, kindergarten, first, second, third, and fourth. And I think it's been the most satisfying job. I've had many other jobs, but knowing that you could touch your child's life and they could touch my life. So, yeah, and I have to tell you, when I went to college, I read a biography of Mother Teresa, and I think she is the epitome of a caring person. And she was a nun, of course, a Catholic nun. She was a teacher in a school for girls in India. And then she had a calling from God to leave the protection of the school system and go out into the slums of India and help the people that were poor. There were babies in trash cans. It's very heartbreaking when you hear about Calcutta. There's a lot of suffering, people that have leprosy. And Mother Teresa had this, she says it's God working in her, but I was like, wow. And I saw pictures when she opened the house for the dying and the house for the people that had leprosy. And I was so touched by what she did. And I don't know if it inspired me to be a teacher, because I wanted to be a teacher since I was 8, because I had great teachers. But I don't think I could ever do her work and the Sisters of Charity, going in, touching people that are sick, it's not a glamorous job. But I know she was like a heroine of mine, and I've watched documentaries on her. And again, they're walking into some very difficult situations, slums, a lot of poverty, some areas where neighborhoods full of crime. And Mother Teresa was not scared. She went in there and she did what she had to do. So I just think being able to care for another human being that is, maybe doesn't smell good or is crippled. Anybody that has that type of compassion deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. So I think people like that do inspire others in our ways to help make this world a better place.
And Madam Timer, can we have a timer's report, please?
Yes. Kara spoke for 1 minute, 14 seconds. I spoke for 1 minute, 19 seconds. Damika spoke for 1 minute and 10 seconds. Arlene at 1 minute, 10 seconds. Benjamin at 1 minute, 58 seconds. And Annie at exactly 2 minutes. Everyone qualified.
Great, thank you. Please cast your vote for the best table topics person. If you're in the room, write it on the ballot and someone will come around and pick it up. If you're online, please send a personal chat to Daryl with the person that you felt did the best job. I've enjoyed being your table topics master, or sometimes they call me monster. I'll welcome back our Toastmaster, Daryl. Want my cane?
I had a little bit of an incident this last week and it has made it hard for me to get up and walk. But we are going through it and no problem. Just getting up is a little bit difficult for me right now. Now we're going to enter the part of our speech where we have our prepared speeches. And we have two speakers tonight. Now I noticed that one of our person who was scheduled to be an evaluator is neither of her speakers showed up. So I was just wondering if Annie, would you be willing to evaluate Bond's speech?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you very much. That way Becky will not have to do double duty. And now our first evaluator is a gentleman who joined us a few years ago. Excuse me?
Evaluator.
First speaker. Is it okay, I'm sorry. Talking about one thing and to get into the other thing. My mind is having a little bit of issue keeping up with my brain. But our first speaker this evening is a gentleman who joined us a few years ago. He'd been a Toastmaster before. And he made a very definite impression on his division and his district that he said before. He's a distinguished Toastmaster. And he has found something that he really wants to talk about. His speech is 5 to 7 minutes, and the title is volunteerism. So let's welcome Musa as he tells us about volunteering. Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters. I was listening to the radio a while, 2 days ago, and the guy was saying his volunteerism and especially his initiative has made the project successful. I said, wow, that's good. So I start listening more, but the guy turned around and he started blaming all this non-profit organization because some of them are scammers, some of them are thieves, some of them. And I said, where is that compassion? I asked myself, first of all, let me tell you, I volunteer for few organizations. On the Riverside County, I am on Ward 2 and some kind of, they call me vice chair for high growth. I volunteer work, and I do also a US term limit volunteering. Just asking people to ask Congress is staying there too long, let's kick them out. Because why don't we change the president is out and why not Congress? I also help with some friends for food to feed the homeless. So volunteerism and all these things are active, but this radio announcer was pissed off because people are using this to do other things. Bad actors are using it. So in our culture, what do we say? If you have money, if you have something, if you can do it, help, do it. If you cannot do it, at least talk about it. And if you cannot talk about it, just feel it inside. If you see something to be helped and feeling it, that's also okay. So volunteerism and at the same time charities are there to help people, and their purpose is different. Now, in the US, 5013 non-profit organization, there are too many of them. It could be religious, educational, some helpful, other things, charities, scientific. There is too many things. Let me give you a number. In the United States, we have 1.5 million non-profit organizations at this moment. If you narrow down to the US, to California, California has 200,000 non-profit organizations. And if you narrow down to Riverside and in our surrounding, we have 15,421 non-profit organizations. Maybe someone say it's too many. Are they all helping? Is the announcer have a point to make? Because he was totally mad that this non-profit organization are not doing what they have got the license for. Well, make joke, you go to volunteer and someone is goofing around while you are working and he's the one who called you and said, how come you're not working, you can make a joke. But in a real way, there are CEOs who are pulling around $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year for non-profit organizations. There is a website, I forgot the name of it, all about non-profit organizations. There are about 10% of this. They do not even take a penny for their pocket. They collect the money and they pass it. And they actually, you can see it at their year-end report. They tell, we took this much and we give this much. 100%, around 10%. There are other, it's known because you have to have a secretary or somebody to run the shop. So you pay an extra or a few amount. There are about 30% of them, they pay individuals assistance or group. So there is a salary. But the CEO or somebody, they do not take any money. And that's still noble because they want to run it, but somebody has to help and that somebody has to make money. Then when you come to the other 30% or another 30%, they take salary. The CEO, they run quickly, they open this non-profit organization, the next minute, they are a salaried employees for the same organization they created. And they pull, like I said, 50, 60, 70, is it good? How do you feel? You give your money and somebody is taking salary out of it. Stop. Don't despair, though. I'm start laughing with this announcer and I said, I know he's pissed off, but I said, don't despair because there are a needy child somewhere there. There is somebody who needs a scholarship. There is someone who is sick over there. There is somebody who needs to get that class and he doesn't have a fare. There are people who need that help. But hurt. Your heart will hurt you when you hear this thing, but let's forget this for a while. And what about the needy? Can I choose which organization I should help or I want to help? Can I do that instead of getting mad on announcing the whole city hearing you? Instead say, you know what, internally, I feel good. I'm going to donate my donation every year, and I'm going to give it to so-and-so organization, which I know they do a good job. And there are good organizations, but there are also some bad actors in the loop. We're not going to blame the US government for giving them a license. Everybody, I go to these meetings these days, half of the population is, I'm a non-profit organization. I'm a non-profit organization. Oh, there must be a profit there out of it. But think about it. Don't forget it, forget everything. Think your heart about compassionate, and I want to help, and I want to help the specific and profit of it. And that will help you and cleanse your soul. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Ms. Appreciate that. A few years ago, I decided to check on some of these nonprofits to find out how much of money that I was giving them was going for the purpose that they said. You'd be surprised how many I found that over 90% was going to salaries and administration costs. Less, and a lot of them was down to 4 and 5 cents of every dollar that was going for the function. So, Mills, I agree with you. Check them out. Find out which ones you feel are the ones that you want to give. And our next speaker has been in Toastmasters for just 4 years. He's working on the team collaboration path. Project number is the Understanding Your Leadership Style. And for the next 5 to 7 minutes, he's going to share stories that have helped him form a better understanding of his leadership style. He says, I want to become Bill Gates. I don't want to become Bill Gates. I make Bill Gates, sorry. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Bon Wang.
Once upon a time, I was so close to the world business leader, Bill Gates. Let me be clear first. It was the Bill Gates before the Jeffrey Epstein's debacle. What happened was my best friend and college roommate, Kang, was called Bill Gates of the city. That was close, wasn't it? Well, Kang owned a truck delivery company with over 1,000 of employees and a fleet of trucks across the country. I don't know what a truck company has to do with Microsoft, but back in the day, when your business is on the fast lane, everyone can be called Bill Gates. Anyway, Kang appeared on the local newspaper, on the TV, talked about leadership and success. I didn't work for him, so I had no chance to see his leadership skills in the real business. But under the spotlights, he seemed to possess all the traits of great leader: passionate, eloquent, and driven. Whenever we met in person, he fervently preached his vision of bringing his company to a global Fortune 500. However, several years later, when I saw him again in the news, Kang faced charges for several crimes. His success story turned out to be some bad business practices where he conducted fraudulence, stole the corporate money for his lavish lifestyle. Well, Kang's images in the news lingered in my mind for quite some time. He steps out of his red Ferrari and stares at the camera, goes like, everyone should dream of becoming Bill Gates. Really? Everyone? I was wondering. Back to 2 decades ago, it was quite a bold statement. As there was a saying at that time that goes, the patients will die one by one if every nurse in the hospital wants to become a doctor. Sometimes I found myself ask Kang in the TV, hey, if everyone wants to become Bill Gates, who is going to work for him? Well, Kang was my best friend. So his story took a toll on my search for the leadership style. For many years, whenever I saw a busy celebrity talking passionately on the stage about leadership and success, I almost pulled back a little bit and had the doubts in my mind. Well, my second story that helped me search for the leadership style took place just recent years. It was in a Toastmasters club, like our club. A new club member came to impress us all with a gift of public speaking and a bunch of certificates. Motivational speaker, life coach, etc., etc. In the new club officer election, he won the club presidency. And his campaign speech was full of charisma and vision. We just couldn't resist it. However, while leading the club in the daily operation, well, the new club president showed some qualities that were, in my opinion, quite contradictory to the eloquence he showed on the stage. In my observation, I saw a pattern of inactivity in operation and active abstraction in the leadership, where he seemed to just intend to show his influence. Fortunately, we all work in a non-profit organization, so we can manage to work around him. But then his leadership turned a sudden turn. He disappeared. Yes, he disappeared before his presidency was over. And no clue, no email, no phone calls whatsoever. We only later found out through his social media that he had already moved out of the state. Well, this story got me really think. This adds another layer on my thoughts about leadership style. Sometimes I ask myself, does the art of public speaking really guarantee an effective leadership? Fellow Toastmasters, identifying one's leadership style is not just a journey toward success. It's also a path of self-discovery. All these years, when I search the leader or build my leadership style, I try to and intend to collect the inspiration with the ground level works. Get the job done first. Respect the fundamentals. Only after that can I resort to those fancy words like creativity or inspiration. This might sound lack of ambition in the beginning, but over time, I can still generate value and inspire others in the team. You see, I don't have to be Bill Gates, but I can make Bill Gates Bill Gates. So, Mr. Bill Gates, you can rest assured that there are some people who don't want to become you, and there are some people who are willing to make you Bill Gates. Of course, that Bill Gates before the Jeffrey Epstein's debacle, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Bon. Gee. But I recognize the individual he was talking about and that glove that he's referring to. And I will also not name that individual, but he is somebody who is no longer here in Southern California. I'll just say it that way. Now, Mary Ann, we need a times report for all the speakers. So please come up and give us that.
Dominica at 3 minutes and 37 seconds. Bob at 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Jeremiah at 5 minutes exactly. Then Musa at 7 minutes and 12 seconds. And Bond at 6 minutes and 51 seconds. They all qualified.
Thank you very much. And if you vote for who you felt is the best speaker this evening, I'd appreciate it. And pass your ballots on over to me. I think Mary Ann's gonna go around and collect them. And with that, we are now coming to the part of the meeting which I feel has helped me the most. And that is the evaluation portion. And to lead us in the evaluation portion, we have a gentleman who definitely knows how to do a job properly. Let's welcome Pierre to be our journal evaluator this evening. Pierre.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster. And thank you again to everyone, all of our speakers who will now, and our table topic speakers who will be undergoing evaluation. We had a lot of speeches tonight. Our first evaluator this evening, evaluating Dominica's speech, is Benjamin. Benjamin, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Dominica. It's amazing to watch your progression these last few weeks. You've gotten markedly better every time you've spoken. Yeah, each one of your speeches is getting better and better. And it seems like you're really embracing the lessons that have been shared over these last few meetings. I liked your speech tonight. I think it was spot on, and I think it's a message that everybody needs to listen to and really embrace. You were talking about living a life of purpose and talk about setting goals to help people reach their dreams. I really, really liked how you said that without goals, people just make wishes. And that's absolutely true. You don't set out a path to meet whatever you wish for, you're really never going to get there. And you also compared what people have as far as opportunities. Some people are born with more opportunities than others, but there's still people who set their goals, work really hard, and achieve what they actually set out to achieve, despite how they start, whether they have the opportunities or what the hardships are in their paths. Goals give us a sense of purpose. There's a whole lot of lines in your speech that really spoke to me, and I hope they spoke to everyone because they are meaningful. Goals are a guiding light. I really liked that one too. And you have to add determination to your goals. There's a couple critiques when you were speaking. I noticed that you were looking up into the corner fairly often, and I wasn't sure if perhaps you're searching for your thought, trying to find the thread of your speech. And it looks like that might have been the device you're using to get back on track with your speech. Or maybe your speech is up here and you're just reading it like that too. My advice on that is just to keep your face normal and plain. I wouldn't know that you're searching for that thread if I didn't see you looking up. And I don't think anybody would have. And it would have passed off as being a normal cadence of a speech otherwise. You also sit very close to the screen. And I was thinking if you move back a little bit, I did see some hand motion, but it looked like there was a lot more going on below the screen. Since the bottom of the screen is just about at your chin. You step back a little bit, you get a little bit more space. Overall, I really like this speech and I like to hear the progression and I want to hear more of your speeches in the future. Thank you, Damika.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. Evaluating Bob's speech this evening, Jeremiah. Jeremiah, come on down.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Bob, you opened your speech up with some foreshadowing. I thought it was really good idea to really engage the listener right off the bat. You gave a brief history of how banks stabilize the economy. You gave out two goals of what the Federal Reserve does to maximize employment and get some price stability. And the tools they use to do that within with interest rates and how the price stability can raise inflation or cause inflation. You showed how rates go up. Let's see, you showed how interest rates go up to drive the prices down and how it affects employment. This was an informative speech, and I think the speech was laid out very well. I liked how you kind of did the first grab of my attention or grab the audience's attention, and then with the foreshadowing of like, hey, the government intentionally increases unemployment, which is kind of a shock to people. Like, why would any government agency want to do that? And then as it progressed, you worked your way through and you explained exactly why that was. This was an informative speech. One thing that I noticed that I already thought you did very well is you had a stumble, but you recovered almost immediately. And you did a little bit of a cop and you picked right back up. And I think that's pretty hard to do, especially when you don't have notes in your hand. I just want to commend you on that. Some of the things that you could probably work on is some of the hand gestures were a little bit stiff and there was a lot of gestures that were like this. A lot of your speech was done like this. And you did have some, but not too bad. And then the vocal variety wasn't much, but not all speeches lend themselves to a lot of vocal variety. And I think this is one where your vocal variety fit the speech. You know, you don't have to be up high, down low. It was informative and you worked your way through the speech very well. You were well-spoken and clear. You have good stage presence and seem confident. I personally found the topic interesting and informative. I'm always looking at interest rates and buying houses and unemployment stuff, and I certainly could probably use some advice. You had great eye contact and good audience awareness. It was a good speech, and I look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Evaluating Musa's speech, or sorry, excuse me. If those are our evaluations for our Speechcraft speeches, our evaluating Jeremiah's educational speech this evening is Dan. Dan, come on down.
Fellow Toastmasters, and especially Jeremiah, I liked your speech. I liked what you talked about, how to use words, different words, even changing the placement of them. Like you did in the example of John kicked the ball hard through the net and changing it to the ball slammed through the net after John's kick. It's very interesting how the placement of words can totally change a speech. I really liked that. I liked your pace that you had through it. It was real easy to listen to, kept our attention, and so did your voice. You didn't have any voice mishaps or I don't know, I call them voice hiccups that make people, what? So it was very easy to listen to. All in all, it was a great speech. I do think, however, I saw some points where there could be some improvement. First one, and the biggest, I think this is the first time I've ever seen you use notes so much in a speech. The only thing that I could liken that to is it almost looked like somebody who couldn't make the meeting gave you their speech so you read it for them, is how it looked up here. You literally, actually, your eye contact was with that paper in your hand more than with the people in the room. I think that if you got this speech down to more of a memory, it would be actually a good contest speech even, because it really talked about what Toastmasters does, how we work with words, how we use the words. One other point that holding the speech and reading it really took away, even though you were up here, and like I said, normally people on Zoom are up here, as pointed out. You were back far enough where if you weren't holding that, you could have had some great body language, great gestures. But because of that paper, your gestures and body language were tied up. I think that would improve 100%. I'd love to see the speech done again, because I really liked it. I really want to, believe it or not, hear it again, because I was so enthralled in it. It's like right after you said one thing, I was like, yeah, that was good. And then you start talking about another. I'm like, oh, yeah, that was great. And of course, at my age, my mind's like, hey, dude, you can't open that many windows. So let's hear it again sometime when it's memorized. I think you can do a fantastic job, and we won't even be able to find anything for improvement. Thank you very much, Mr. Evaluation Master.
Thank you so much, Dan. Evaluating Musa's speech this evening is Benjamin. Again. Benjamin?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Thank you, Toastmasters. Thank you, Musa. I always get a little bit scared whenever I see that I have to evaluate Musa. There is great gestures, great vocal variety. Your tone was subtler than what I've heard in other speeches, but it perfectly matched the material that you were speaking about. And every time I have to evaluate you, I want to watch your performance instead of sitting there writing notes. You started with a topic that I think everybody here can kind of identify with, in that you heard something on the radio that caught your attention, and then you kind of you had a different perspective on it. And I know I've heard that on the radio many times. I'm sure most everybody here has too. The beginning was very identifiable. And so that lured me into the rest of your speech very quickly. And you talked about your volunteerism. And you added some really shocking statistics about the number of nonprofits in the country, in the states, and in our city. And I know one nonprofit, it's a karate dojo. They're not helping anyone. I don't know how that actually works in the total tax bracket, but as soon as you said that, that's exactly where my mind went. You were upset that nonprofits are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or what they're saying that they're doing. And I think probably, again, all of us have heard what nonprofit organizations are taking as far as fees or overhead charges. And I think during Hurricane Katrina, I was donating, and I heard the American Red Cross was taking 95 cents to the dollar. And yeah, I felt a little bit discouraged by that, because I genuinely wanted to help the people that needed the help. And instead, I guess people need help paying the rent too. Overall, I think, like all of your speeches, this was another masterpiece. One thing that I would have liked to hear in this, because I was invested in your speech, was a couple of mentions of a few resources to examine some of the nonprofits right before your call to action. It was an amazing call to action. It got me fired up. And as soon as you walked away, I thought, I don't know where to look. I think a couple of just names, something that could have led me on a Google path later on would have been helpful for me. And I think it would have rounded out the rest of your speech. An amazing speech. I'm glad you gave it. Thank you for sharing, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Benjamin. Thank you for evaluating 2 speeches this evening. Evaluating Bond's speech this evening is Annie. Annie, come on down.
Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, and especially Bond. That was an interesting topic. I haven't heard that one before. You looked very confident. I could tell. I think you're doing great for 4 years in Toastmasters. And considering that English is your second language, right? So I was impressed with your vocabulary. You used the word fervent, and there were just so many wonderful words. So I think your vocabulary is outstanding. Like I said, if I went to China and I had 4 years and they're Toastmasters, I don't think I could pull it off. So I'm so impressed that you're able to pick up on the English vocabulary, and you're using really wonderful words. You looked confident, your facial expression was great. And like I said, your topic was interesting. I believe the main point, the main message I got, and you said it once or twice, you don't have to be a great public speaker to be a great leader. And I've never really thought about that. And your 2 examples, Kang, as you shared with me, was from China, and appeared to be such a great speaker, so eloquent. And then, you know, he was totally corrupted. And then you talked about a person in the Toastmaster organization that was so eloquent. Everybody had such a high opinion of him, and then he didn't finish his presidency and he left the state. And I mean, I agree with you that just because someone is a great speaker, especially politicians, aren't they the smoothest speakers? And they look so charismatic and cool, and everybody believes in them. I mean, I hate to say it, but Adolf Hitler, from what I've read, was a tremendous speaker and had tremendous charisma. And look how many people followed him. And we know the destruction of the concentration camps. And so I think America, this should be like a warning. I mean, America or the world needs to be alert to the great speakers and the charismatic speakers, because behind that facade, there could be some evil lurking. So yeah, just because someone's a great speaker and presents well, it could be a sham. They could be totally a wolf in sheep's clothing. So your theme was really a very powerful theme, powerful message. And I'm still absorbing some of the information that you shared with us. Getting back to your speaking, let me see here. Your topic was interesting. I believe it held the audience attention. It held my attention. We're like, oh, what's the point he's trying to make? So you had a good voice, your vocabulary was outstanding. I believe you had an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. What I really liked about your speech, it was thought-provoking. I feel like I'm watching the news or something, because you make us think about stuff. And it made me think about all the great speakers and people on TV, people in the news, and even the celebrities that look so put together. And I hate to think of evangelists like Jimmy Swaggart, is that the one? Yes, that looks so good, but underneath, boy, better look a little closer. So I thought the strength of your speech, it was thought-provoking, and it made me think personally. And I like speeches like that. They're not always easy, but I think sometimes that's what's good about Toastmasters. We're challenged here, and it opens up our minds to many different things, and we become a more responsible citizen. And when we read the papers and watch the news, we're like, yeah, remember that speech that Bond gave. So thank you for a thought-provoking speech. And like I said, you're a great speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you so much. And that brings us to my own report, General Evaluator's report. We opened well. Becky did a great job introducing our Toastmaster, and our Toastmaster did a particularly good job in the beginning announcing our theme and how our theme was going to work this evening. He then introduced the roles, and I like Daryl how you made clear to everyone, both in person and online, who was on the other side. That way it made clear to me who was in person, because the audience camera, I can, even when it's fully blown up, I can't see everyone's face. So thank you so much for letting me know who exactly is there in person. For our table topics, Becky did a great job with this difficult, abstract one-word theme. When the theme is something as abstract as caring or compassion, how do you make questions about that? And I liked how Becky took a tender, almost personal approach to to the theme of caring. She specifically put she had an idea of things and issues that different members of our club cared deeply about, and therefore asked them about those issues that they cared about, like how Marianne is very compassionate with animals, and she was able then to give us a very personal story about that. She knew about Benjamin's love of hiking and was able to get him to talk about how we collectively can care more about hiking trails. So thank you so much for taking this very personal tack that really fit this theme. I don't know how I would have approached those table topics. As far as evaluations, we had many evaluations this evening. We were supposed to have 7 speeches, but with 5 speeches, we still end up with quite a few. What I was looking for was the sandwich method as the general evaluator. And by and large, most of our evaluators this evening were able to tell us what they liked, then tell us what they suggested for improvement next time, and then ending on a note of praise. Benjamin, while evaluating Damika, he liked different quotes that Damika used, like how without setting goals, people are just telling wishes. And he told us many speeches or many lines from Damika's speech that did speak to him. Benjamin also had suggestions such as trying to avoid looking up into the corner like you're searching for your own thoughts, and also moving back a bit further so that we could see more of Damika's gestures and body language. Jeremiah did a great job evaluating as well. He liked how Bob opened his speech with foreshadowing to engage the speaker off the bat. Jeremiah felt the vocal variety was appropriate for an informative speech, and also how Bob was able to recover from a stumble, especially when Bob wasn't using notes. He also had suggestions for Bob, such as making the hand gestures a bit less stiff, and also to watch when he's looking down. Dan evaluated Jeremiah's educational speech and liked Jeremiah's pace and Jeremiah's examples of how to give or to have to change words to be more descriptive, or to change the placement to achieve these rhetorical ends, and also gave suggestions on trying not to use notes so that they don't interfere with gestures and body language. Benjamin also evaluated the second speech this evening, Musa's. He liked Musa's gestures and vocal variety and appreciated how he was more subtle in this speech because he felt it was appropriate. And he also liked the use of statistics on nonprofits. Benjamin also suggested that he wanted to hear some mentions of resources for listeners to look at this issue on the effectiveness of nonprofits. Annie, when she evaluated Bond's speech, she liked how confident Bond was and Bond's use of advanced vocabulary, and also how he had this interesting topic. While Annie didn't have a particular suggestion for improvement, she did like how Bond's speech was thought-provoking and had two good in-depth examples. And that will conclude my report. Thank you very much. I would like to call upon our timer, Marianne.
Our evaluators, Benjamin, 3 minutes and 12 seconds on the first evaluation. The second evaluation, 2 minutes and 58 seconds. Jeremiah, 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Daniel, 2 minutes and 46 seconds. Annie, 3 minutes and 31 seconds. And Pierre, 5 minutes and 50 seconds. I'm going to give you 30 seconds grace out of 52 seconds, Pierre, because you had a lot to say. Everyone qualified.
Thank you, Madam Timer. To give the all council report this evening, Taryn, come on down.
I just want to preface with, it's with not opinion, this is what I've heard, so you'll either invite me back to be the all counter, or you'll never have me be the all counter again. You go either way, I don't know. For Domica, I have 7 ahs, 1 1 so. Bob, I have 3 so's, 1 you know, and afraid you said the twice. Jeremiah, I have 1 you know, 5 us, and then you repeated types and brief twice. Musa, I have 4 so's, 1 Bond, 4 wells, 1 so. I even evaluated myself. I caught myself saying twice. That was kind of bad. Marianne, 1 so. Arlene, 0. Becky, just 1 so. Benjamin, I have 7 ahs and 1 so. Annie, I have 5 so's, 6 ahs and 1 well. Daryl, I have 1 so and 1 Dan, I evaluated everybody. Dan, I have 2 so's, 2 us and 1 and Pierre, I only have 1 so. But to end, everybody did a great job. That was just what I heard. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Counter. A point of order, we did not have a grammarian tonight, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to reconfirm that. With that, with that, I would like to return conduct. I would like to return conduct, not conduct, whatever that is, to our Toastmaster, Daryl. Daryl?
Right.
Thank you very much. And if anybody who's online wants to vote for best speaker or best evaluated, please do so, because I'm looking at ties and I'm trying to get away from the ties. Anyway, before I go ahead and pass out those, I have something else to pass out. As the educational vice president of the school organization, I'm supposed to be recognizing people when they make an achievement. I'm a little delinquent on this one, because I take a look at this certificate and it's issued April 24th, 2023. And one of the reasons why it's a little bit delinquent is because, well, besides my forgetting to print it out the first time I saw it, we have had people missing. But I'd like to present to Musa a certificate of completion to Musa for achieving level 1 of effective coaching. So congratulations, Musa. And it's signed by our president, Matt Kinsey, and CEO Dan Rex. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be the beach.
Yeah. And I'm gonna ask our president to come on up and make an announcement while I go to check to see if I got any votes in on the computer. So
Okay.
Becky, would you make your announcement? Yeah. Huh? Yes.
Thank you. Well, what announcement? Oh. This Saturday is TLI, Toastmasters Leadership Institute. And I hope you all know where it is. It's in Claremont. I have to look it up on my GPS. I know I've been there before, but it was many years ago. And our club is paid for. So if you're an officer in our club, just go in and sign in. What other announcements do we have?
Well, do we want to have an installation of officers?
Maybe not this month.
Okay,
So
next one,
we need to have our graduation of the Speechcrafters.
right, next week.
Oh, next week is the graduation of the Speechcrafters. Excellent. Anyone who wants to join, please bring your money then. We need 3 more members in order to become distinguished and presidential distinguished. And let's have Daryl announce the winners and what we're doing next week.
Okay, thank you very much. Interestingly enough, I did get some results in, and I still have a tie. However, as you see, I'm not wearing one, so it's not that type of a tie. But for the best table topics, I have to turn this over to see who I have. Benjamin, congratulations, Benjamin. And our best evaluator, you know, we have a habit in this club. If somebody does 2 evaluations in a night, they always seem to win. Congratulations, Benjamin. I'll make sure you had a chance to get up there again.
Thank you.
And do we have a best speaker ribbon, Marianne? That's all I need. And we have a tie for best speaker. And it came out to, even though I had 4 people tied in the first one, it came out to where I have 5 people tied now. I mean, ties with 5 votes each. Oh, for 2 people. I'm gonna see. Fine. And winners are Musa and Bond. Well, up and get your ring.
Not really happen all the time. So.
Yeah.
Yes. Can he- one more time?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.